Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is.
Pato.
How was your weekend, Pato?
Mine was okay. I did more movie stuff. That was kind of, I think that's gonna that's gonna be my weekend for a while moving forward. Is just
Movie stuff?
working on Torch of the Flesh, which is good. It's been rewarding, you know.
Yeah.
So that was good. But I wanted to use usually at the top of the show you give me like 5-10 minutes to talk, which I appreciate. It's like because that's what they always say to do with like loudmouth, attention starved kids in class is that you tell the kids that if they behave, the teachers like give the kids like 10 minutes to be the center of attention if they can go through the whole entire school day and like behave. And I feel like that's definitely your approach with me. We're at the top of every show. We let Pat do what he's going to do, and that way he'll behave for the rest of the show. Um,
What?
so, what I want to use my time for today is talk about something that popped up on my radar this weekend, which I didn't know that exists. So, as I've talked about like several times on this show before, I'm a 40-year-old man, so I'm kind of out of touch with stuff, but I'm also like I consider myself kind of hip. But every once in a while, like I'll read something and I'll be like, I don't know what that means, and then I'll go and I'll do a deep dive and I'll discover it, and then my life is enriched. So this week, when I was on Twitter, I found out about the term black pill.
Yeah, you shared this with me.
Right. And according to Urban Dictionary, black pill or being black pilled or taking the black pill, it's kind of a play off of the red pill stuff from the Matrix or whatever.
Right.
Um,
It's a popular thing people say on the internet.
well, really? I heard it for the first time this week. And what
No, red pill. The
Oh,
red pill is.
100%. Yes, I was very familiar with that. Very familiar with that. But
Right.
the black pill thing was news to me. And what that is, it's a metaphor for the dark realization that the attraction of women towards men primarily stems from genetic features that cannot be controlled, such as height and more particularly facial features. Um, the logic often goes as far as saying that only the top 10 or 20% of men have the facial features necessary to truly be attractive to women, and that being any less handsome will force you into a life of celibacy.
Wow.
Which is the most insane. So this ties into the whole incel shit, which I am like I've always been kind of fascinated from like a social cultural standpoint because I was very much a nerd growing up, and I still am. I still consider myself to be to this day. I don't follow sports, like I don't go fishing. I don't particularly like camping or anything. Like I know how to fix things. I'm very handy, but like my idea of a good weekend isn't like building a deck or anything. You know what I mean? Um, and I kind of work around dudes that are a little bit more like alpha, and I'd say like normal than that. So I feel like a nerd and outsider a lot anyway. And the idea that like these incels or something, I'm definitely not like celibate or ever had a problem with that. So the whole incel thing is like super interesting to me because it's guys that are kind of into video games and anime and comic books like I am, but somehow just don't connect with women and blame their intelligence and stuff based on that. And now this whole black pill thing is like somehow you're too ugly. Like only the top 20% of 10 to 20% of men are attractive enough to like pick up chicks.
Well, that's weird because I didn't feel like that's what you sent me, but maybe I didn't read into it too much.
Yeah. Well, so the story I sent you, and I don't have it.
No, 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 no. The black pill definition is not the same thing that I read.
What did you read?
It was just like a nihilistic view, basically, that like you have to accept that like life is shit and everything's shit. Like once you accept that, then like you're okay.
Right. So that is one of the so Urban Dictionary gives multiple definitions, and that is one of the definitions. Extreme nihilism. All right.
Okay.
It's about the realization that nothing matters and there's nothing you can do that will change anything. It depraves you of all the positive thought, makes you want to get some sort of meaning out of this limited time we have. Yeah. So that's another definition that doesn't necessarily tie into physical features. But the story that I had read, it was a guy in the UK that was planning like a mass shooting, and the reason being was that he was an incel, and that
Yeah.
he had been black pilled or something, right?
Yeah.
So that was what originally put all this on my radar. And,
No, you sent me a different. You
oh
didn't
my
send me that
god.
one. What have you been doing? You've been doing some extensive rabbit hole hunting.
I'm super
You
sober now too, so it's like
right? No, you
usually it's
sent
like
me
I get
this.
highness into the wrong thing or something.
No, well, the story you sent me was about the QAnon guy who killed his family or whatever, killed his kids because he followed Q.
That was another article that I sent you. I think
Yeah,
you're
you sent me that one.
no, I sent you a bunch of shit this week because I'm
Did
like
you?
because I'm coherent now. So I'm
Maybe I'm just a bad person. I don't read them all. I'm fucking
right.
lazy.
Fucking
Sorry.
another text from Pat. Whatever. He's a
Pat brought news this week, and I just fucking blew it all off. Like whatever.
right. He's not in the top 10, 20% with as far as his facial features go. Why should I pay attention to this motherfucker?
You know you've been black pilled. I mean,
Jesus Christ.
I'm joking. Anyway, continue. I do find this interesting. So
I find it super interesting because this idea like that there's these dudes that are nerds that are sitting on the internet that like think that the reason that they can't find girls or can't have successful romantic relationships is because they're not in some super selective like ultra top tier of like physical features and stuff. Like that's insane to me. You know
right.
what I
Meanwhile,
mean?
like chicks love dad bods. Like we're really into that. Like we like that. We like low maintenance men because that means we can also be low maintenance. Like there's no expectation there, and so it's like, the fact that like they think that's the reason. That's why they can't get women. No, the reason why you can't get women is because you fucking suck and you're gross and you got terrible views on women. That's why women don't want you. Not you
Right.
specifically, but
Right, 100%. I think it has way more to do with like, and I think it's their standards too. Like, you're never too ugly for love. Like, you may be too
right,
ugly for a specific partner,
right.
but there's always someone out there that's just as ugly as you are, if not uglier. Like, you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, though. Yeah, I mean, you got to lower your standards at that. Like, you got to be realistic. You got to, that's why they call it, playing within your league. You got to play within your weight class or whatever. It's just the way
Right.
it is.
Like I am a firm believer that every woman is beautiful in her own right. Like I sincerely, I don't say that as like, with a wink and a nod. I mean, I sincerely believe that like, if you get to know them and, everybody's attractive. Everyone has their selling points. Everyone has their, qualities. But I think sometimes you get these dudes that like just think that they should be banging like Katie Kuko or that chick from like, you know what I mean? Or like someone like that. And like, oh, if you don't, they're the ones with the impossibly high standards. They're the
Yeah.
ones that are setting the bar for their female partners up way super high. And then when they can't get those girls, they blame those girls for having standards that high when they're not even attempting things with chicks that are maybe more on their own level. Right. Like you got to understand like kind of where you place in the spectrum, I guess. Like, and trust me, like, dude, I have pulled some fucking coups in my day. I have definitely, like, even now, like the chick that I'm married to is way better looking than me. I don't know, how the fuck I pulled that off, but that it happens. So you get lucky, you know what I mean? You really do get lucky sometimes, but everyone else, like, you just gotta, I don't know. To be so, I understand getting sexually frustrated because that, I always called it being cum-brained, where like you're just so fucking horny. The only thing that you can think about is banging, and like you're not getting it. And I can understand that frustration, but to be so fucking cum-brained that like you go out and you plan like mass shootings, that to me is like the most fucked up thing in the world. And I think that's like where this domestic terrorism shit's coming from, is like people that are just like seriously blaming. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted right now because my fucking dogs are acting up.
And it's loud over there, you guys.
I know,
it's
dude.
exciting.
I'm trying to figure this. I'm trying to do this fucking thing, and everybody is like screaming at the dogs in the other room. Anyway,
Everybody's.
sometimes I wish I was an incel and I wouldn't have all these fucking people around me all the time. You know what I mean?
Say that on the show. Stop it. You're gonna get in trouble.
No. But this whole thing also tied into the fact that I have been working on the movie a lot recently, and I'm back around theater people again. You forget how horny theater people are. Like people think that like, oh, you need to be an athlete in high school to get laid. No, you don't. No, you don't.
You just need to do theater.
Do theater. Because those
Yeah.
people are weird and horny.
Yeah, yes, they are.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
that's true. If you need to get laid, just join theater and
Join
you'll be
stage
all
crew.
right. I mean, you're right. Right.
Right. And I don't I
No,
don't
you're
necessarily
absolutely right about that.
I don't necessarily know like what that comes from, if it's like because you have a lot of queer people in that kind of activity, or if it's because like you get a lot of people that work very close together for very short amounts of time, and then the shows are over and then you move on to the next thing. You know what I mean? Like two people are love interests in South Pacific in the spring, so they're always practicing lines and working together, and they develop a showmance and like, you know, talent crushes and stuff. And then fall comes around and they're doing Little Shop of Horrors, and now it's a different pairing or something like that.
Yeah. No,
So
well, I think it's just artists in general are kind of more inclined to conduct themselves that way in a more they have a different scope of the world. So um just a different perspective kind of feeds into your romantic life, I believe.
please tell me you have news.
I do have news.
You
Are you
do
ready for
news
the
so I can
news?
put my microphone up and yell at everybody right now.
Yeah, I got some news. I'll get into the news. Go
All right.
ahead. You go yell at everybody. I'll
Okay.
get into the news. Well, the news for this week, I actually don't have too much. Actually, I only have one story, but it's a really good one. So while Pat is yelling at his family, um,
All right, I'm back.
welcome back, welcome back. It's sounds like you did well. Anyway,
Did we figure out the
so
Bermuda Triangle yet? What I missed?
no, but it is. You know what? Good guess. It does have to do with water.
Mm.
So a mysterious monster has closed down a British beach. So the beach is Boscombe Beach. I don't know how it's pronounced, but in England, closed on August 4th because they were seeing this mystery creature in the water. As a matter of fact, there was a fellow out there on the water in a kayak who was fishing. And even though, he was out there fishing, he said something tugged on his line. He saw a giant shadow, and all of a sudden his kayak was being like bumped up against. And he got out of the water, and the lifeguards and stuff were really making a big deal out of this. I mean, they closed it down completely. And the lifeguards were saying, it's like the lifeguards knew a little bit more. They kept saying that, like, one guy said he hadn't seen anything like it in 35 years, and they're all kind of talking. So of course, like, experts have weighed in. It's very unlikely that it's a shark. Even though it is a beach out there, it's just not where they would typically hang out.
I think isn't it too cold?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. I didn't write down exactly why, but just for science reasons, it's very unlikely that it's a shark. The fisherman that was out there, he says, he's been out there fishing there for 15 years. He does it regularly. He's never seen a shark out there. He's like, and even if it was a shark, he's like, I know what a shark looks like, and the shape of the shadow that he saw did not look like that. And so, but he didn't actually see it. But as of they kind of reconvened again August 11th, and it's still unknown exactly what this thing is. I think the beach has opened back up. However, they're definitely using caution because they don't know, what's stalking the shore right there. So, very interesting. We don't get a lot of mystery monsters. I mean, could it be a fish? It could have been. Scientists suggested it could have been like a sunfish, maybe. They're fucking big and strange.
I trust the lifeguards. That's their sandbox, man. That's where they play. That's where they work. They know that area well. And if they see something that sets off alarm bells and they don't feel safe going in the water, I'm going to fucking listen to them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I would agree with you there. I think that they probably do know what they're talking about a little bit, but they didn't say. Anybody that kept trying to kind of ask about them, they're really strange and dodgy. So it was weird. And then again, like, people, you have to ask permission from the lifeguards to go into the water right now. Like, you can't just like walk up to the beach and go in, because of whatever it is that's out there has everybody kind of scared. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see if any more sightings happen, if anything comes out of it. But it's not typical that this happens. I mean, who knows? But the local whatever it is, marine life organization that kind of runs that area, takes care of that area, says that they wouldn't be surprised if it was an undiscovered species of what? Who knows? Lots of, again, that's why it's a mystery fish. Lots of mystery. So that was my big news for the week. I really didn't have anything else as far as like shameless plugs go. I do have a couple actually. I've recorded two episodes, two other shows over the past weekend, both of which will premiere. The one by the time you guys listen to this is actually already out. So I spoke with the folks over at the Bloody Bits Horror Show, and I got on there and we talked about Cannibal Holocaust actually. So part one should be available for you to listen to now. Part two should be out next week. So go over there and listen to my take on Cannibal Holocaust, which happens to be probably one of my favorite movies of all time. If you didn't know, it's one of my favorites. Pat, what do you think about Cannibal Holocaust?
I always confuse that and Cannibal Ferox.
What?
Yeah, which
Oh, you
one?
confused them both together. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember. Cannibal
Cannibal
Holocaust.
Holocaust is the girl on a pole.
Yeah, let me pull it up. And that's the one with the blonde and the monkey jumps out of the Jeep in the beginning. Like when she's got a pet monkey and it actually dies. No. It's the only animal killed during it.
Okay. No. That's that's Cannibal Ferox. Cannibal Holocaust has all the animal killings. All the animal kill. I think maybe Cannibal Ferox. I don't remember if she had a monkey or not. I haven't seen that one in a while. No, the one is the one with the girl on the pole and all the animal deaths. The turtle. The turtle slaughter scene.
I haven't seen this.
You've never seen Cannibal Holocaust? Oh my gosh! Well,
Cannibal Ferox is the one that I owned. Yes, Cannibal Ferox is the one. That's the Italian one. Cannibal Holocaust.
I like Cannibal Ferox. I'm not going to be that person. But Cannibal Holocaust is like I said it's a masterpiece because it's just, Deodato does a really amazing job. He was convicted. Actually, he was not convicted. He was charged with murder because of Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah,
because they thought it was real, and because he did it so well. And there's like different scenes. Like there's a scene where they're burning down the village or whatever, and like it's all practical effects. And there's this really awesome shot of like the fire going on and. The soundtrack's amazing. I mean, and then just the themes with it. There's so many different themes in it that like once you watch, you can watch it as it is and just go, oh shit, it's just for shock value. That's disgusting. Or you can actually deep dive into it and pay attention. Because once you pay attention and you start noticing all the themes of like American imperialism and sensationalism and the ties between the actual jungle and the concrete jungles of New York. Then it's really, like I said, it ends up being honestly a masterpiece. However, you have to watch a lot of animals get killed, but you can purchase a animal cruelty free version if you're not into real animal deaths on screen. So that's cool. But yeah, so
I'll watch this. I'll watch this very soon.
You need to watch it. You should watch it.
And I'll listen.
I talked about it over. Yeah, I talked about it over on the Bloody Bits Horror Show. Go listen to those guys. They're great. Anyway, they just talk about horror movies and stuff. And I was honored to come on the show now for the second time. And then I also recorded with Josh Turner over at the Paranormal Roundtable. So that episode, and that's of course is about the Mothman and some other things. We touched on some other subjects as well. So you can catch that this Friday night. It premieres over on the Paranormal Roundtable YouTube channel. So those are my plugs for the week. Other than that, I mean, I think.
I'll say follow Torture the Flesh on Facebook.
Oh, you got a Facebook?
There's a Facebook page for it, so do that.
Well, I could put the link in the description.
Yeah, maybe I'll send you that.
If you send it to me.
Here's one more thing I wanted to bring up, because obviously the COVID stuff's starting to come back. Do you? I have a bunch of stuff coming up. So you guys just did Cryptid Bash, right? And there's Cryptid Con coming up in November. I'm going to a gaming convention.
The Braxy Bazaar and Mothman Festival in September, back-to-back weekends.
Yeah, I have Game Hole in October. I have a couple concerts that I'm going to. Kiss, GNR, Boris the Sprinkler. Lollapalooza just happened in Chicago a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Do you think we're headed for another shutdown?
I think it would be smart if we did. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but let me be honest with you, we didn't handle this correctly the first time as far as our shutdowns go, and I think we need to rework the way we do it. I think that certain areas with maybe that meet certain criteria need to be on lockdown, and like not just like lockdown to where like, oh yeah, Hobby Lobby's still open or whatever, like actual fucking lockdown where nobody's allowed to fucking leave for 2 weeks straight.
Well, that, that's something that we texted about earlier this week too, is that Chicago Public Schools is now requiring all teachers and staff to be vaccinated. We're starting to see these vaccines become mandatory.
Yeah.
And they're starting out, okay, if you want to go to Lollapalooza, you needed to be vaccinated, or you needed a
Yeah, I've
COVID
seen
test
that.
within 48 hours, right?
Hmm.
So there's kind of like these soft, on the outskirts, mandatory vaccination things. And now we see it encroaching more and more, where government's enforcing it and private sectors are doing it here and there. And it's not become like a federal thing yet. It's still left up to individual organizations, some private, some municipal. But it looks very much like we're moving towards an environment where being vaccinated, if you want to do anything, you're going to need to be vaccinated. If you want to
Sure.
go into a restaurant, if you want to go into a store, if you want to buy and sell goods, if you want to go to any type of entertainment or anything, you're going to need to be vaccinated. And that is, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about that?
I so here's the thing is that I have actually been for mandatory vaccinations for a long time, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with that, especially listening to this show. But I've been for it since long before COVID. Other countries have mandatory vaccinations, and like they're fine, and it's fine, and they don't have nearly like the troubles that we do. Um, with things like flu and stuff like that, because there's so many people. There's so many people that just don't understand the science behind how these things work, and they are happy with the misinformation that they're fed, and they're unwilling to learn. And I get it, not everybody is capable of understanding, the big wordy words with the science and stuff. I understand, but I don't really see any risk. There is minimal risk to vaccinations, but there's minimal risk to everything that you do. Everything. So it's just another one of those things that you do. And so I don't have an issue with it. I know how the vaccination works, so I don't see a problem with it. Get the shot. If you can't for medical reasons, then don't get it. There are medical exemptions.
Right. Like I'm honestly kind of conflicted with this, right? Because first of all, I'm vaccinated. I think I got vaccinated before you did. I think I did. So like I'm very pro it. Like I'm not,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's the part of me that kind of winces when you see things get made mandatory, and you're going to kind of unilaterally create this like requirement of citizenship almost overnight. But I guess that's how these things happen, right? Like we were born into a world where the polio vaccine was just already there. Same thing with like rubella and all the vaccinations that you
Yeah,
got
but
as a
those
kid.
vaccinations aren't mandatory. I mean, they have been. Like, let me tell you, the big thing right now going on is our hospitals mandating these vaccinations. Okay, and I know at least here in Ohio, the flu vaccine has been mandatory. Locally, to our hospitals, it's been mandatory in the network. And I remember when it happened because my mom works in the hospitals, and it was probably about a little over 10 years ago. And all the nurses and stuff talked about doing this big walkout and stuff then. Well, let me tell you something. Locally, the way that it's been is that my mom, like I said, she works at the hospital, so she knows what these numbers are. Right now, 60% of their employees have the vaccination already. They've already been vaccinated. And then you got to think about how many of those and that's everybody in the hospital. It's not just the nurses and doctors.
Right.
It's the cleaning crew
The
and the
lunchroom staff.
cafeteria
Yeah.
workers, and you know what I mean. And so so then 60% of all those people so far have received it already. It's already done. The other people might just be putting it off until they have to do it. They're just indifferent. They're just not going to do it until they have to. And then maybe you've got about a 5 to 10% margin of people that are just going to quit, and those people are probably mostly going to make up. Yeah, you're going to have some nurses and stuff here and there, but those people still make up just a very small amount of the population. And they're not going to be able to work anywhere because it's not just the one network here in Dayton, Ohio.
Right.
It's all of the networks in Ohio. So you're not going to get a job anywhere if it's just the way it is. And but you had to already have the flu vaccine before this point. So we've already done this. It's not unconstitutional. Their employers, especially in Ohio, it's an at-will state. If you decide not to get the vaccine, even if it was, if you decided not to get the vaccine, they could just go, "Oh, well, we don't like that you have brown eyes. You're not allowed to work here anymore." And they could fire you over that shit. There's nothing you can do about it because it's an at-will state. As long as they're not firing you for your gender or your race. And I think that's really about it. Even people with disabilities have a really hard time fighting those things. So I don't have a problem with it. I mean, you chose your career path, and yeah, it's shitty and you'd have to start all over again. But most of the people that are having a big stink about it, I mean, what do you tell all those people that are suffering on minimum wage? If you don't like that job, get a new one. So fuck you. That's what I say about it. Fuck off. Go get a new job then. McDonald's is hiring.
Yeah, but I'm very much a liberal, obviously. And I'm kind of I got a little bit of a libertarian bent to me.
You
And
do. Yeah.
I'm kind of conservative sometimes too, but not really. Most, like, I think guns are cool. That's basically it.
That's for you.
But
I understand.
but I have friends and I have family that are all over the spectrum. So when I go on social media, I really do see people arguing all sides of it, right? And you know, like I said, I obviously got vaccinated right away, but the people that voice apprehension about having to carry these vaccine passports with them everywhere you go, that does feel weird to me. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I won't do it or that I necessarily like, oh, this is fucking Nazi Germany, but like, can I just, and I'm not gonna go march in the street about this, and I'm not gonna firebomb a fucking, DMV, but like, can I just stop for a second and say this feels weird? And I think that's all I'm doing right now, I guess, is just saying, like, this feels a little weird.
Well, and
Not
it
saying I'm not
does, and
gonna
I'll
do it,
agree with you.
but like,
Yeah.
it's the people that are like, I guess it's the people that I have that are very left leaning, the people that like make Instagram stories just to scream into the fucking void to wear your fucking mask. Like those people that are like, I haven't been outside in 18 months, and like they're proud of it and shit. Like those people, I feel like I don't get that. You know what I mean? And as liberal as I consider myself, I can't be on board with that level of it. You know what I
Well,
mean?
tribalism in any sense of the word is never a good thing. But I get what you're saying. I mean, the reason why you're taking pause with it anyway is because it is fucking weird. Because this is a once in a lifetime event, and nothing like this will probably ever fucking happen in our lifetime again. It won't. So it is very odd. Things are not normal, and
And I
and the
think,
only way for them to go back to normal is for people to do what they need to do. It's to wear your mask and it's to get your vaccine. And the problem is that when it even came down to something as small as putting a piece of cloth on your fucking face, most people wouldn't do it. Not most people, that's not true. A lot of people wouldn't do it, and they're very loud about them not doing it. So we can't expect them to then go and do the responsible thing and go and get a shot. And so it's like, but at that point, I mean, right now, it's like something like 99% of people dying from COVID now are unvaccinated. So it's just Darwinism at this point. It's much more comfortable for me to wear a mask than it is when I have to fucking doll myself up and put on 10,000 pounds of makeup. Like, wearing a mask is not a big deal. It's just fucking not.
oh,
And
I
people
don't
that act
care.
like it is.
And I wear
Go
glasses
ahead.
too, so it's like it's a pain in the ass for me sometimes. To a point you made earlier about, hey, look, this is a once in a lifetime occurrence, and if we go through this the right way, we'll never have to deal with it again. There's a lot of people that feel that we'll never go back to where we were again. That what we are witnessing is the new normal being formed, and it's up to the patriots to draw lines in the sand and not relinquish some of their rights, because what we're seeing right now is the basis being drawn for the next 100 fucking years.
But it's not, because we've had pandemics before. So, and they were handled exactly like this,
Right,
is
but
even right
not
down to the people that are crazy and think it'll never end.
you are one.
It's the same thing.
You are 100% right. That's the thing, is that a lot of people don't have a sense. You talk about people not knowing their how fucking medicine works. A lot of people don't know fucking history either, and this
Right.
has happened before, and
It
we have
has.
recovered from it,
Just
but
not in our
not in
lifetime.
our lifetime exactly.
Right.
So that's why, like, once again, I'm not driving my car off the cliff, and I'm not fucking trying to hide in my crawl space with a shotgun, but like it just, I don't know. I didn't mean to hijack this. I know this isn't what tonight's show's about, but it's just being ground zero in Chicago with the Lollapalooza shit. Because let me tell you too, that was handled really fucking weird. Lollapalooza was going on here in Chicago for 4 days. 100,000 people every day were here. Okay, and it was totally fine, and it was okay. We're gonna check to make sure people were vaccinated at the gates. And I heard some people say that, yeah, they really did check, and I heard some people say they didn't check. You could just walk in, no one gave a shit. If you had a ticket, that's all they cared about, right? And this bit, was Lollapalooza safe? Was it not safe? We had the Illinois top doctor in Illinois get on the news and say it was safe, all this stuff, right? Well, what happens as soon as Lollapalooza is over? All
I
right.
don't know.
Now you need to wear a mask in every Chicago business. Now they're requiring all Chicago public school teachers and staff to be vaccinated. Now suddenly the pandemic is so serious that we have to take all these extra steps, all right? Now that we've already let Lollapalooza happen, now we're seeing restrictions being enforced. And why? And that's not so much a conspiracy as much like a no-brainer. Well, yeah, they wanted the fucking money. The city wanted the money for Lollapalooza,
Right.
and if
Which,
they
I
had
mean, they've taken hits on events for the past, year and a half.
right,
So
so if we
understandable.
canceled this and we didn't allow it to happen, then the city would have lost all this money. All right. So does that mean that the pandemic isn't as serious as we think it is, and that Lollapalooza should have been allowed to happen, and the restrictions that came after are bullshit? Or is it that the restrictions are bull? You know what I mean? That Lollapalooza shouldn't.
It means neither of that. What it means is that the rich fucking people don't have to leave their homes at all, and they can take the vaccines and they can take all the precautions that they need and not have to worry about getting the vaccine, getting the virus, because again, they don't have the luxury of being able to stay at home. They don't have to go out into the working world. Somebody else can do all their grocery shopping for them. They want the money.
Right.
That's all that means. It doesn't mean anything else besides that. I mean, they just don't give a fuck at the expense of how many people, because they don't care. The event happened and they made money off of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, with all that being said, let's talk about the topic, huh? Which has maybe no basis in reality. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know what we'll think. So I say this like every week, but you already know what the topic is, you guys, because you clicked on it. So the Jersey Devil. Pat, what did you know about the Jersey Devil before I presented the idea this week?
A lot, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's a hockey team named after it.
Right.
Martin Brodeur.
Yep.
And another podcast that I'm a very big fan of, give them a shout out real quick. Your Brain
Sure.
on Weird. They follow us on Twitter. We interact with them sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
But yeah,
I love the name.
Yeah, it's two chicks. They do a paranormal podcast. They're I think one chick's in Texas, the other one's in Maine. But
Okay.
basically, they smoke weed and they do a show just like ours.
Cool.
And they're very well hydrated. They always make a big deal to talk about like how they drank liquids. I think they're witches and shit. It's pretty good. It's entertaining. If you like, like if Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls is all Adderall and White Claw, then these chicks are very much like bong hits and vitamin water. So
Okay.
yeah, it's just a little bit different energy, but it's still good. And they did a Jersey Devil episode a couple weeks ago, and
okay.
it was, I knew it, but the one thing I do want to bring up about this real quick too is, so kind of when it comes to paranormal investigating, are you familiar with the Weird New Jersey website?
I am. It's a
Okay,
the weird. There's like so every state has a weird whatever. So you have Weird Illinois and Weird Ohio. It's a book
but
series.
it started with Weird New Jersey, and that was the first one. And
Yeah,
then the
right.
guys did, and it was like a blog. And
I think it was a magazine.
well, yeah, but I think it definitely had an online component because back in 2013, or I'm sorry, 2003, I had an office job and I basically spent all day on their website, which at that point was, I remember that was like when it crossed over from Weird NJ to Weird US. And Weird US was when it opened up to all the states, but it was still kind
Right.
of Midwest and East Coast
All the
based.
states. Yeah.
And that was just, they had more
Hmm.
contributors
Yeah.
sending shit in, and it was people that would go to just like field researchers doing paranormal research and going
Yeah.
to these locations that were like urban legends and taking pictures and submitting stories to this website. It was very like punk rock and like DIY of the time, but it's basically like the blueprint of where we're at today with like you know, internet based paranormal researchers and like kind
Yeah,
of.
I met the guy who started it all. Actually, he came and did a talk at the local library when I was a teenager.
That's awesome. Yeah. So,
So
so like I totally attribute a lot of like my interest in this stuff to that website and
yeah,
and those guys. And obviously, since it started with Weird New Jersey, the Jersey Devil was featured very, very prominently. So
sure,
I'm
yeah.
familiar with the story.
Okay, all right. Well, then for those of you that aren't familiar with it, I am also very familiar with the story just because I'm into this stuff. But when like I said, I met that guy, and so obviously I did a little rabbit hole diving back then as well. But I guess I really always it was very much like a Mothman thing for me. I was always skeptical of it. I haven't revisited it yet in my new scope. Being who I am now. And so now that I have gone back and kind of went through it again, I don't know, but we'll talk about opinions afterwards. So, for those of you that don't know, the Jersey Devil is basically like, I don't know, it's like the only state cryptid out there. Like every state's got its cryptids, but like the Jersey Devil is like the New Jersey
It's in
cryptid.
the
Like
name. Yeah.
right, like it's a big it's a big thing there. But the Jersey Devil legend started back in probably around the 1700s. Similar stories date back even further, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit. But the Jersey Devil, I guess the most popular one is that Mother Leeds, which I guess was related to one of the founders of the Pine Barrens or that area or whatever.
Hmm.
Mother Leeds was having her 13th child, pregnant with the 13th child, and she was very miserable because her home life was just terrible. Her husband sucked, and she's about to have 13 fucking kids.
Ugh.
So she basically said something along the lines of, she let this one be the devil or some shit. I don't know. And then she birthed this baby. The legend that I've heard was that the baby turned out normal, but then like within like an hour of the baby being born, it then transformed into this devil and killed almost everybody in the house. Killed the husband, didn't kill the mom, but killed like the midwives and some of the kids, and then like took off, and it never came back, so it
I,
was gone.
I seem to remember it like popping out of her cooch and then running off into the night. Like maybe I'm getting it mixed up, but that was always, I think that was the one that I had read, was that it kind of came out devilish and like flew away, like flew out of her snatch or
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. It's
something.
well, there's other stories that's like, it was a curse put on a girl who was sleeping with somebody's husband that shouldn't have been or something,
Mm,
and it was like the witch's husband, and and then that's why she had this fucked up baby. Either way, somebody birthed this demon child thing
right.
that took off. And but it's described as like, I think the most popular description, because there are different ones, but the most popular one is that it has a kangaroo body, a dog head but a horse face. It's got leather bat wings, it has antlers, it's got a forked tail, and clawed hands because it has hands also, and then cloven feet. And so it just looks very strange. But that's kind of the history of it. And then throughout, well, that seems to be what made it kind of popular. I don't know where the Mother Lead story came from. Maybe it was based in reality. I don't know. Who knows? Demon babies, sure. Why the fuck not? But it really, really picked up steam in 1909, because from January 6th to January 23rd of 1909, there were almost 1,000 sightings of this thing. 1,000 sightings of this thing. Like, it's a lot of people saw it. Police officers saw, and it wasn't just in the Pine Barrens. It was also like in Pennsylvania. It was in like surrounding states as well. But like some police officers saw it. They shot at it. Nothing happened. Um, this Navy commander, Stephen, I think it's Decatur, he was testing out cannonballs and he shot at it. And when he did, the cannonball blew a hole through it, but it just didn't care and it just continued on about its day. A couple of firemen saw it and tried to like blast it with the fire hose, and it just didn't. It just went away. One woman tried to beat it up with a broom, and it just, again, it was just like, ah, fuck this noise, I'm out of here. But I mean, hundreds and hundreds of reports, again, within the time span of January 6th to January 23rd, within 2 weeks, almost 1,000 reports of this thing. So pretty wild. And people to this day, of course, they talk about it. Another notable person that saw it was allegedly Joseph Bonaparte, which is Napoleon Bonaparte's brother, saw it.
Wow, I never heard that.
Oh yeah, he came and lived in New Jersey after he, and I think he just walked away. He was in control of Spain at the time, and I don't know if he walked away or he stepped down or whatever, and he came to Jersey. And yeah, he saw it. He ended up finding the footprints in the snow and was like chasing after it, and then saw it. And I think he actually created a trap because he was anticipating for it to come back. It never did. Eventually, he moved out of Jersey, but yeah, Joseph Bonaparte allegedly saw it. As far as the Pine Barrens themselves go, it's also a very, of course, an area of high strangeness. The Native Americans, and I'm not going to try to butcher the actual words that they used, but the Native Americans called the Pine Barren land something very specific, and what it meant was place of the dragon. And then Swedish people that explore, I guess explorers, I can't think of the fucking name right now, but the Swedish came over and they called it Dragon River. So that's two different cultures calling it the same thing because of this thing. So, I mean, even though the Mother Leeds story dates back to about the 1700s, this thing dates back way further. Like, it's just kind of always been around.
Yeah.
And then, of course, even to this day, people still continue to report sightings of this thing, but mostly the footprints are found in a lot of places. These cloven feet everywhere, and just the wildlife in the area. I mean, yeah, you could have a stray goat walking around, but it doesn't make sense because it's also walking on two legs. It's not on all fours like a typical goat. But yeah, people are still, I mean, there's current sightings. I found sightings as recent as 2018, but that doesn't mean that there aren't ones that are even sooner, especially with the advent of the internet and how we share information. You've got all these private investigators and stuff, so there's probably more. I'm sure of it. But yeah, so like I said, initially my opinion was that it was all just the urban legend. It sounded like folklore. I mean, the Mother Leeds story sounds so ridiculous. It's like a ghost story. But those 1909 sightings, well, what kind of, we'll sit back on that for a minute. What do you think about that? I mean, almost 1,000 sightings in a 2-week, that's a lot.
Yeah, I it's weird because I kind of, so there's not, it's very strange that the Jersey Devil has a very specific look to it, right? There's no, it kind, if you were to compare it to other cryptids, it kind of maybe could be a chupacabra, right? But that's kind of a recent cryptid, maybe from the past, I don't know, 50 years or so. You know what I mean? There's not that much lore about chupacabra. So the Jersey Devils was always just kind of this weird local, very very localized creature. And when you take that into consideration, how do you explain that, right?
The look of it.
Well, no, just the fact that it's one creature that's only spotted in one area of New Jersey, right?
Well, I mean, but no. Actually, as a matter of fact, I have a report of somebody who was at the. Actually, she was at the Mothman Festival, and she lives in West Virginia, and she spotted somebody was selling a jacket or something with the Jersey Devil on it, and it was like that classic drawing that we all, if you Google the Jersey Devil,
Sure.
it'll be the first thing that pops up. And she lost her mind. She stopped and she said, "Oh my God, I saw that thing." And the person that she told, who ended up telling the story to me, which is a reliable source, said that she owns horses, and she noticed that it was nighttime. She looked at her window and she noticed that one of the horses was laying down, and she went outside to go check on it, and it got up and flew off
Okay, but you're talking about one sighting,
in West Virginia.
right?
But that's not the only time that something like this has been seen. That's not the only time something like this has been seen. There's definitely been other reports. I mean, it's not so concentrated. Like I said, you're talking almost 1,000 sightings in a 2-week period. That's a lot. That's a big concentrated thing. That was obvious. Those people obviously saw something. And you're right. It does look very specific. One thing that I do want to bring up that I want to I do kind of still entertain the idea of. But do you know what a hammer-headed bat looks like?
No.
Google it right now. Look it up right now on the show.
Jesus. All right. Yes, sir. Fuck.
Google it right now. Everybody.
Do you want me to stand on one foot while I do it?
Hammer-headed bat. Look it up.
Okay.
It's
Yeah, that's
fucking
kind
weird.
of the same thing.
Looks fucking exactly like what you would think a Jersey Devil would look like, doesn't it? Looks fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as
It's
big.
got the
though.
horse face. It's got the elongated snout, the eyes, the wings.
Even like the ears,
Right. Yeah.
look very much like you would think people are seeing. But again, it's not as big as what people were reporting. That doesn't mean that it couldn't have been a hammer-headed bat with gigantism. I mean, first of all, it'd have to be able to live in that area. And that's one issue that they have with it, is that would it be responsible for all of the sightings? Well, no. I mean, if say somebody came over and brought one of these things to New Jersey with them, and then it got loose somehow, and people started seeing that thing. I mean, if you saw that thing in the middle of the night, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" I mean,
Right.
you'd be nervous. But that doesn't explain, being hit with a cannonball and then continuing to fly.
Right. Well, but that that's one. I don't think that you can necessarily commit to a supernatural explanation just because one of the stories has supernatural tinges to it. You know what I mean?
But that's one of many. A lot of people report that there's police officers that have shot at this thing. Like I said, the firemen with the hoses, and those are just 3. If you go back and look at all of them, this thing's been shot at and attacked, and they had a bounty out for it. So of course people were trying to kill it. They wanted the money.
So are you
and nobody
fucking with
was.
me? Is it the bat or not? What are we doing here?
I don't know. You're supposed to make up your own mind.
I do it. You keep telling me I'm wrong. It was like I didn't think it was real, and you're like, "Well, look at the bat." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, it's probably the bat." No, well, then how did it do magic shit? Oh fuck!
See,
I don't.
my job's hard. This
Ashley,
is
what
my
am-
life every fucking day, Pat. It sucks.
Ashley, what are we doing here? I don't know what's going on.
I'm not here to give you answers. I'm just here to
Make me question everything.
Expand your mind. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, so.
But if it was a bat, so let's look at it like this: if this thing was, obviously, there's hinky stuff going on with that area. However, I'd say that you could probably look at the history of a lot of parts of our country that have been populated by Native Americans for a long time and find out they all had wacky names back in the day. Okay.
Sure.
So we'll just put that over here. That's, it's not a yes and it's not a no. The natives used to call it this and then other people called it that. Well, that's fucking everywhere. So the thing is, if it was something that was biological and just run of the mill, I guess, then why wouldn't they be? I mean, I guess they come out at night, so maybe you're not going to catch them during the day or anything. But why wouldn't they maybe migrate? Why wouldn't there be a larger area where sightings are? Wouldn't it's kind of spread if they were just an indigenous species, couldn't they spread all over? Why are what is it? Is it the swamps? Are they local to the swamps because of the feeding? And that's where there's some that live there and they just
Especially
nest there.
something like a fly. I mean, you'd think that they can get away a lot easier and travel a little bit more. I mean, with the hammer-headed bat, it's not prime environment for it to live in. It wouldn't be able to make it in such cold climates. And
Right.
so that's the biggest issue. However, again, if you look at the fucking thing, that's what it looks like.
Yeah. I guess like what I don't buy into is like the supernatural stuff just because you know w- we don't know the rules for that. So like if
Yeah.
this was really Mother Leeds 13th child or something, why would it still be around? Is it just wandering aimlessly or does it come back on like, every 13 years or something? Like, you know what I mean? Is it living out in the swamp full time and there's just flaps where we see them? The fact that there's flaps with sightings maybe tends to lend itself to like a migratory pattern or something, or you know, uh, there's a particularly large brood that generation, where there's a lot of them, and people are seeing different hammerhead bats, but you know, they had a breed of a dozen of them or something, and that's why for a couple years you see a lot more of them, and then they
Like
kind of
maybe they
die
were
off.
selling them. Somebody was breeding and selling them.
Well, no, just like in nature, like you have, if you have two dogs get together and they fuck and they have 12 puppies, right? So now
Sure.
for the next 30 years there's going to be a bunch of dogs running around, right? Because there was 12 puppies. But then some of them die off and some of them don't mate, and then the next generation maybe there's only 4, right?
Yeah.
And then the
I can
generation after that there's 12 again, and suddenly there's another flap 30 years later, 40 years later, where you see a lot of them, you know. There's an ebb and flow to, you know, how many they're having and stuff with the bats.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know,
true.
you know.
That's no, that's I think that's a possibility. But the bats can't thrive in that environment is the problem.
The swamps, I mean, I'm no zoologist, but or cryptozoologist, but I would think that they would kind of do well in that because it's, bats live in. I have a bat nest in my backyard. When we moved in, we put one on the tree because I thought it would attract goth chicks, you know. But yeah, you can go to Home Depot and get little bat hutches. They don't really need a whole lot to live in. They just need a place to hide during the day, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it's. I mean, but a hammer-headed bat is not the same thing as like your typical, bat. It's a different. Like I think they live in like they're like a tropical thing. Yeah, they're an African bat, so they would have a totally different set of rules than like a normal. They could freeze to death in the winter. You're talking the winter in
Oh,
Jersey?
that's just racist.
What? It's terrible. I'm taking these accusations from you.
Right. You're showing the Ohio a little bit too much today.
Whatever. Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't know. I haven't made my mind up yet about the Jersey Devil. I would love to talk with some eyewitnesses. So, like, if you've seen the Jersey Devil, send us an email at on Wednesdays we talk weird at gmail.com and or just to me reach out to me and I would definitely like to speak with you about it. I think that that's my deciding factor on most of these things that I decide to, if I decide hold water or not, is to speak with people that have seen it. But this one's definitely a mystery. I mean, obviously there's some unexplained events surrounding it. But at the same time, we have a freaky looking creature that matches almost the perfect description aside from the hooves, but that doesn't mean anything. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely an important cryptid because it's kind of the
It's a cultural icon now.
well, I mean next to Bigfoot, but there's Bigfoot lore in other countries, but as far as like the American cryptid goes, it's definitely in the top 3, if not
Yeah.
if not
Well,
I would
The
argue
New
probably number 2.
Jersey website, like the state government website, like the legend of the Jersey Devils on the New Jersey state website.
Right. But what's interesting is that unlike Bigfoot, this has a definitive maybe not definitive, but I would consider the Mother Leeds legend kind of like the definitive origin for it. It's got
Yeah,
a definitive supernatural origin.
absolutely.
And Bigfoot doesn't have that. Everyone's still kind of scratching their head at Bigfoot. This,
Right.
there seems to be a point of origin that at least is somewhat widely accepted. And
Right.
so that's interesting right there.
And it's purely supernatural, right? I mean, that's, I don't think anybody's questioning whether or not. I think for the most part, when you talk about the Jersey Devil, it's like a devil. It's like a supernatural, being rather than a physical one.
But for all that, and I don't think anyone can necessarily claim to fully understand or comprehend the the limits of the supernatural. But from what you know and what you believe about spirituality and divinity and magic and stuff like that, does this explanation make any sense to you?
Nope.
Nope. See, that's a thing, right?
Not at all.
So, like, if we believe, if you want to believe that this creature exists, and you also have spent at least some time thinking about the nature of reality and God and all these things, like, are you going to believe this? Like, and
I believe that something happened in 1909 for sure.
okay,
I definitely believe that there's too much. There's too many people backing it up. And what about the Joseph Bonaparte thing? That's crazy that he saw this thing. Well, and that's, you know what? That's a legend. That's one of those things that I don't think we can prove or disprove at this point. But a lot of people believe, especially in Jersey, that he saw it.
right,
But I think he didn't write about it or anything. I think he only told people that worked for him and stuff like that. So it could be bullshit. The story could be bullshit. But
yeah,
but I think something did happen in 1909 at minimum. Could have been a hammer-headed bat. Definitely could have lived for about 2 weeks and then nobody saw it. Maybe they shot it with cannonballs and they missed, and shot it with guns and they missed, and they're
I
just
hit it,
stupid.
but it absorbed the shot, right?
Right. They're right. They didn't want to seem not macho, so
Well, that's the thing is that when people try to hang too much explanation on one specific incident, I tend not to do that, right? Like, it's like when you brought up the Napoleon thing, I was like, but that's one story. Because one story you could fudge the details on, and you're trying to hang a
sure.
lot. You're trying to hang a lot of um, a lot of like concrete like evidence on one story, and who knows how accurate that one story is. Same thing with like when I had said, oh, they're kind of localized to New Jersey, and you said, well, no, I ran into this person in West Virginia, blah blah blah. Okay, once again, like, let's look at all of them and then kind of go with the common denominators. And if we're gonna make assumptions that anything's accurate, I think we have to assume the common denominators and not hang too much credibility on the outliers. Okay, and I think
Yeah.
that goes for anything, Jersey Devil or Bigfoot or fucking lake monsters or whatever, right? Like, you got to look at, if you got 100 stories, look at what they have in common, and if you're going to put money on anything, you put money on that, right?
Yeah.
So clearly there's something in that area. It's a swampy area. Swamps have a lot of water and they got a lot of life, right? Think of Dagobah. Why did they hide Yoda on Dagobah? Is because there was so much life there that any force sensitive Sith masters trying to find the Jedi wouldn't be able to find them on Dagobah because there's lizards and flies and fucking frogs everywhere. Okay? Well, Star Wars history for you. So there's lots of food in those swamps. It's not a heavily populated area. There's lots of places to hide. There's lots of fresh
Sure.
water. There's lots of food. It's its own ecosystem that's probably not completely fully understood. It's a big area for things to get potentially released by people. Maybe somebody brought this bat on a pirate ship and just let it go or something. You know what I mean? Like, there's all kinds
Sure.
of, and something could sustain itself there, for a while, maybe for a couple generations. Um, and it's also kind of a creepy place, gives people the creeps because it's not well lit, it's not open, it's so maybe people attribute uh negative spiritual happenings to that area as
Sure.
well. But
I'm definitely willing to entertain any possibility with it at this point. I don't have my mind made up about it, for sure. But like I said, would very much be interested in talking to people that have seen it or think that they've seen it. Let me know if you have, because I want to hear from you.
yeah, I'm starting to, the more after doing the show with you, the more of this stuff that I read about and look into, and this is just like, I'm not saying this is everything, but I think I kind of separate things into two camps now in my head. One is that it's bullshit. The other one is that maybe there's portals or something where stuff can periodically pop in from somewhere else and then get stranded here, or maybe it can go back and forth. But like, if you think about these sightings and you think about what this creature supposedly is, if it has all the characteristics, if all of these characteristics are being accurately reported, then I mean, it's definitely, it may not be a like a magical supernatural thing, but it's definitely not of this earth or whatever. If all that stuff is true, and maybe it dimension hopped or something, and you're starting to hear more and more people attribute that idea to the Bigfoot lore.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, high strangeness in general for sure.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll have a whole discussion about that on an upcoming episode. We'll just kind of talk about the different examples, and I think the Jersey Devil could possibly be one of them. Yes, because that's the only thing that really could explain something this supernatural. I would think, unless it's a hammer-headed bat, then. But no, it's one of my theories, is the, ultra terrestrials. And, I think that I am for it. I think it's a very real possibility. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm trying to prove. So, obviously, I would definitely entertain the idea. And I guess maybe that's why eyewitness accounts are so important to me, because I need to know the small details surrounding those events. Did they see a UFO before or afterwards? Did they have weird dreams afterwards? Did they become ill? Those things are important. So, I mean, hey, I think it's possible.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess I don't have anything else to add. Do you?
No, that's all I got for this week.
It's okay. That's all right. It's sometimes there's not much more to it. I mean, the Jersey Devil, it's not like we have like all these sightings. Yes, there's still sightings to this day, but they seem to be few and far in between compared to other things. And sometimes it is what it is. But I want to know, what do you guys think of the Jersey Devil? I mean, I know he's kind of a favorite amongst people. He's one of those it's really a fun story. But do you think that it could exist? Do you think it did exist?
I think it's one of those East Coast podcast chicks running around the woods.
It could be.
That's what it is.
I know a couple, yeah. But hey, it could be. I don't think they had podcasts in the 1700s, but what do I know? I wasn't there. So
they're time travelers.
Well, anyway, guys, that's the Jersey Devil. Like I said, let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you think it's maybe the hammer-headed bat. What do you think about that fucking thing?
Yeah,
at minimum, that thing's horrifying.
Definitely Google it. Definitely Google that.
Yeah, Google that fucker, because it's intimidating. It's small, but it
looks just like it.
It looks just like it.
Pull up the Jersey Devil Wikipedia page, and you'll get the classic picture on your right, and then Google hammer-headed bat, and look at that picture and compare the two. And yeah, it's pretty unmistakable.
And it, pretty much looks just like it. So but again, let me know what you guys think. I mean, maybe you believe it. I don't know. Yeah. But until then, we'll see you guys next Wednesday.